Hello, my dear viewers. I'm glad to be with you today. My name is Olga Demchuk, and I am a researcher of the inner world of personality. I call today's topic Reaching Out. What is contact? How does it happen? Let's try to figure this out together today. I'd like to remind you that the School of Communication is approaching and the Self-Reflection webinar is available in English. You can read more about these projects on the website, but in general, they are all about contact. And right now, I'm studying this topic in depth. What does it mean to be together? You would probably agree that you can walk alongside someone, yet not truly be with them. You can have lunch with someone, but still not be together with them. You can even live with someone for many years, but still not manage to truly be together. There is no real contact. And on some intuitive level, we clearly understand that right now I am not truly together with the other person. Well, the simplest example is when you're talking to someone and the other person says, "Hey, are you with me? Are you hearing what I'm saying?" We've drifted off somewhere and the other person immediately picks up on this. In the same way, when you're speaking with someone, you can sense that the person is no longer listening to you. You can see it in their eyes. They're not focused. It's as if they're somewhere else, even though they might be looking straight at you. So on an instinctive level, we clearly sense whether we are together or not. And while we do understand this, the question is how do we regulate this ourselves? How do we manage these processes? Today, to explain contact and what it means to be together, I've prepared a couple of cages and 2 cats for you. This cage is still covered for now, to remind you what a cage symbolizes in my videos. When we talk about a person who is locked in a cage, we are referring to certain rules that limit and condition them. These are the rules they have developed over the course of their life. What is allowed and what is not allowed. And on top of the cage, there is a kind of mask that we present to the world. So inside there is my true self, then there are my rules and limitations, and then there is a certain mask that I show to the world. And these masks can change. That is, for one person, it might be one mask, another for a second person, a different one for a third, yet another. But something inside us remains unchanged. Even if you think of yourself as a being who has lived for many decades, you will realize that something inside seems to remain unchanged. It is still the same me. But the cage changes and the masks change as well. So we have 2 personalities, 2 little cats, each in its own cage. When we engage in a discussion regarding the cage, about what is specifically permissible and what is not, we should not necessarily view or interpret the cage as a place that defines our entire existence. It feels like confinement, as if you are locked inside this cage. It's like in a zoo. When a tiger is in a cage, the cage is not only what makes the tiger confined, it is also what protects the people watching the tiger from the tiger. It's exactly the same with this cage. On one hand, it shapes us, but on the other hand, it protects the world from us. If we were not limited by rules, then if something displeased us, we would immediately hit someone else on the head, or we would shout at them, demand things from them. But this cage, these rules, they help us to socialize. In our cage, it is precisely what restrains our emotions. That is, when our emotions start to boil over, these rules that we have already internalized, that have become a part of us, begin to slow us down, begin to hold us back. And this restraint will always be perceived by a person as violence against themselves. It truly is a form of violence, but sometimes this violence is actually for the person's own good, so that they do not destroy their own life. So we have 2 cages, 2 people, 2 personalities. When we meet another person, it is these cages that meet. And the distance between us can vary. On some intuitive level, you can also directly sense, feel, and find this distance. The distance at which you find yourself with one person or another. That is, you can be closer to a person or further away from them. And this distance is something that develops over time, historically. For example, due to the nature of my work, because of my profession, I have to maintain a certain distance with my clients. And this distance is necessary for me when working with those who are close to me, My distance will be much smaller with friends, and with those who are very close to me, I will be in direct contact. In other words, this is the point of contact between two personalities. When we come into contact with another person, we always create sparks with these cages. That is, for each of us, a cage is a symbol of our worldview. In other words, it represents how I perceive the world. This is what my ideal world looks like. My cage is the right one, and your cage is the wrong one. And this devaluation of other people happens precisely at the moment when we compare our own cage to someone else's. But when we realize that our cage is just a cell and not the whole world, and that we are not the ultimate truth, then there are far fewer judgments and complaints about others. And this is communication on a very basic level, on the level of the cage. When we cannot see our own cage, we start to see other people's worlds as wrong. But if we understand our own subjectivity, our own cage, then in contact it becomes much easier not to make demands, not to accuse the other person. And another person's attempt to impose the rules of their own cage will be perceived by us as violence against us, as coercion to do something we do not want to do. And when, for example, we engage in a conversation with another person, we communicate from our own individual cage. We are not describing the world or the events themselves, but rather our own subjective perception of them. It is how everything is reflected from our cage and how we see it from within our own private cage. And when we come into contact with another person, there will be an unconscious competition in this interaction. In other words, whose interaction is it? Whose interaction is this more so? Mine or yours? Who is more present in this interaction? Is it you or is it me? So whenever I happen to enter into direct contact with you, in fact, let's imagine for a moment that this small table here represents the entire space of our interaction, then I find that it's as if I am pushing you out. When we talk about myself, it's as though there is no room for you in our interaction. And we also intuitively feel this on a physiological level when we have been pushed out of the interaction. This is when we feel it most strongly. We feel it most when someone ignores us or is offended by us. In other words, when they show us, in my world, there is no place for you. This is difficult for us to process because it creates the feeling that we have been cancelled, although in reality the person has only cancelled us within their own world. Not in general, but within their own world. And this is the space of contact. It can be alternately occupied. This is a space where I live and you are somewhere on the sidelines playing old roles. Or in this space, now I am the one living here and now you are on the sidelines. When we talk about these processes, which in psychology are commonly called fusion or projection, we can easily understand them by looking at our own cages. When we talk about fusion, we are talking about moving to live in another person's world. That is, fusion is when I'm already living here and I no longer have my own world. I don't even have my own toothbrush. We have one toothbrush for both of us. We share the same socks or something else like that. In other words, I have entered into fusion. I have cancelled myself out. I think you can also recall from your youth or even from more recent times some events when you started living as if you were living someone else's life by their values, by their rules, and when your own world, your own space doesn't really appeal to us. It's as if we move to live in another world, as if we try on someone else's clothes that aren't ours, but we still try to put them on and to live in it and consider it your own. When we talk about projection, we are talking about the fact that I experience certain emotions here inside my own space, but I assign responsibility for them to someone else. In other words, it's the inability to claim authorship of your own emotions. It's when I feel these emotions because of someone else, not that I generate them within myself, but that you provoke me into experiencing them. Our ultimate dream is for the other person to become the service staff in their own cell, to have them take their own world somewhere far away, and for us, for them to become our environment. We came out of the womb, and there we floated in water, in amniotic fluid. And ideally, the other person would become that environment. The other person would become a function, become an object. so that they erase their own identity and become, as it were, the service staff in our little cell. They serve us. They have no life of their own, no world of their own. And in fact, that's exactly what our mother does when we are born. She has no life of her own. She is preoccupied with this screaming little bundle. And we would so much like for the other person to be the service staff for us. And so in any interaction, we will unconsciously strive for this. And if a person is too much like a cell, then they will perceive the other's unwillingness to become service staff as an attack. They will see the other person's own world as an assault, as aggression, as rejection. You must cancel yourself. If you don't want to be with me, you are rejecting me. If you don't want to recognize the rules of my cell as the right rules, then you are either wrong or you are also attacking me. In other words, the more a person denies that they live in a cell, the more problems they will have, directly in their interactions. A person will spark, become emotional in contact, and interacting with others will be very, very burdensome for them, because there will be a lot of emotions, which means either you will have to restrain them at the cost of tremendous effort, or you will have to express these emotions and, of course, blame the other person for provoking it. Because the other person seems to become a means or a reason for our encounter with ourselves. In other words, we live, and it's as if we don't have this, but something else appears. It's as if we discover a lot of new things about ourselves. What is actually there in our inner world? It's as if all of this was hidden somewhere, but the presence of another person always reveals us to ourselves too much. We discover ourselves, especially if the other person knows how to maintain boundaries. That is, this very ability. The ability to maintain boundaries is precisely about the fact that I cannot impose the rules of my own cage on you. And when the other person says, no, no, I don't need your rules, you live as you wish, by your own rules in your own cage. You don't need to impose that on me. At that moment, a person always faces an existential question. Am I living the right way? And most often this is what happens. The black cat is wrong, my rules are perfectly fine, it's he who needs to change something in his own cage. And in order to understand how to be together, how to create contact, we need all this knowledge, because all of this will get in the way. That is, our natural egocentrism, our innate desire to make others serve the needs of our own world, will prevent us from being together. And it is precisely the failure to recognize our own cage that gives rise to numerous complaints about the world and about other people. So when we talk about contact, about being together, we are talking about being together not only with a specific person. For example, we are talking about working together as a team, achieving results collectively. But we are also talking about something even greater, being together with this world. That is, what kind of relationship do I have with this world? Am I together with it, or am I separate? Do I acknowledge this world and its cause and effect relationships? Or am I in protest against the world? Am I in opposition to it, and I do not receive what I want, yet I am not willing to reconsider or discover my own cage? My cage is the world itself, and all the rest is nonsense, the matrix. And when we go through the process together, truly together, we actually need to create a kind of third space. This third space is symbolized by this little box that stands here. You might wonder, why did she put it here? This is exactly why I placed it. It represents our shared contact. Let's recall how, when we're with friends, we remember the experiences we've had together. For example, a trip somewhere, or perhaps something happened and we did something together there. We grilled kebabs together, or maybe, I don't know, we painted walls or put up wallpaper together. Or we worked on some project together. This sense of togetherness is a space, not in my own cell, not in yours, but something entirely different. And this shared space may never appear, not in friendship, not in family, not even in a team. That is, a person can be part of a group or get married, start a family, but still continue living in their own cage, and this shared space will never be created. And then even when you're with loved ones, you get the feeling that this person is a stranger, even though you've been together for a long time. As a group leader, you may know I run Stalker, which is a psychoanalytic group. I observe these group processes and can clearly sense in practice what it means to truly be together or not. A person can come to a group and not be in a hurry to enter the group space to start thinking together about something. He has his own particular opinion. The group is discussing one thing, but he says something else. The group has already taken the second and third steps to explore the topic, and then this person appears and says something of his own. In other words, he is afraid to step out of this cage, as if in that moment he would lose his individuality. He really will lose something, but not his individuality, rather the kingdom of his own self, because growth inside the cage is impossible. Inside the cage, everything remains the same, and this is our boredom, our monotony. It's when we live by the same rules of the same cage. In order for something to change in my life, even if only to make the cage a little bigger, I need to spend some time in this space that is not my own. The opportunity to learn, to comprehend, to gain new knowledge is possible only here. Take me, for example. I am a blogger who talks to you about the inner world. Yes, one of hundreds of thousands of bloggers, or maybe even a million by now, who talk to you about the inner world. And I say, step out of the cage, come here. Let's reflect together on your inner world, on our human inner world, and how everything is arranged within us. If a person just listens to me and immediately argues, insists that I'm wrong, then they remain right here. They haven't even tried to move over to this space. But when a person says, all right, let's go, let's explore this space, you see, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I say, this is the world, this is how I see it. Look at the world through my eyes. And each of us does this. Some people impose their view of the world, while others simply say, look at the world through my eyes. And so, for example, when we are in a stalker group or in any company, in any interaction, be it marriage, friendship, or a team, we create this shared space. It is only within this shared space that true exchange becomes possible. It is only together, when we are united, that we can truly accomplish something. In this togetherness, a person doesn't push themselves onto the other. They don't push their own rules. They don't impose on everyone how to live. They don't tell everyone what is right or what to do. Instead, within this space, they create a certain product together, something that is needed by both this person and the other. For example, in the stalker group, together we create certain mental constructs, various hypotheses. We are engaged in a joint mental exploration. And in this togetherness, if a person manages to step out of their own cage, to refrain from imposing their own rules, and from devaluing everything else, they emerge renewed. That is, they truly return as a different person. Family. In a family, when I sit in my own cage, and for example, I consider your cage to be wrong, a kind of arrogant sense of being right, and the other person, say, my spouse, or a friend says to me, hey, let's do something together, let's spend time together. And so I am together, but still within my own little cage. That is, not truly together with the other person, but inside my own cage, even though I am physically next to them. Or it could be me inviting my spouse, saying, let's be together, let's spend time together. If you listen to yourself, you'll realize that you may have gotten married, started a relationship, but you only truly started being together much later. Even with your own children, with your friends, there is that moment, that click, when you are truly together, when communication happens without the cage. That is, when you stop trying to shape this person to fit your own expectations. And if a person is very closed off, very focused on themselves, then being together for them, it will feel like self-sacrifice. In other words, they will perceive it as an act of self-sacrifice. Why should you have to serve my world? Why should I have to do something together with someone else? It's like when people come to work and they don't do anything for the benefit of the team or the organization. They just come to collect their paycheck and put in their time. And from such people, there is no return. It's as if water keeps flowing, but it stops at them, the energy of the team. And if a person is too isolated, doesn't recognize their own cage, and doesn't want to know anything about it, They might even come out here, but will perceive it as an incredible feat they've accomplished. Like, I sacrificed myself. Overall, it's an interesting topic about being together, about contact, about being close, about how to create that. We'll talk about this in more detail at the School of Communication and also at the Self-Reflection webinar. You could get the recording, so come take a look, and all the details are in the video description. Then I would like to ask you to write about what contact with another person means to you, what being together means to you. I encourage you not to simply rely on what I have said, or perhaps carefully take those points into consideration, but still try to formulate your own unique perspectives. Please share your deeply original thoughts and allow others to see the world through your eyes. Don't be afraid to let your imagination soar as you formulate what contact means or what it means to be together. Choose whichever is closer to your heart. Try to let go of any censorship or any Wikipedia articles you've read and be completely original. In this way, together we will create stars shining in the sky. Each of you will share and others will read. In this way, we will create a space where we are together. We will do things together. A common cause to reflect on what contact truly means. I bid you farewell until we meet again.